Hello, hello. Let's see. No one is here yet. Cool. This will be an awkward stream. All right. Well, weird. I'm actually not getting any updates on my side of things. Can y'all hear me okay? I'm gonna assume yes. No one's saying no, that they can't hear me. Okay, cool. Well, I love how it's telling me that there's 0 viewers, but obviously that is not the case. So awkwardness aside, we're gonna be chaotic today because I don't know how to use Figma, so we're gonna learn that. But yeah, let's get started. I think we'll probably do another 2 breaks again today because my voice is kind of going. I went too hard yesterday, I think. But y'all have been really exciting. So I'm actually really excited to see how we'll put this together. I did cheat a bit. I did some wireframes on my own because I don't trust my design ability to work in the course of 2 hours, and I need longer than that to usually do good design, but we'll see. Objectively, it's probably not good design, but we'll work on that. Yeah. So right now I have the document from yesterday that we put together, which is some website names / hackathon names and some ideas for what we're going to need for our website that we're going to be building and potentially how we'll be building it. So we've got some returnees from yesterday. Love to see that you're back. Love to see that you're willing to join in the chaos that is me attempting to learn new things. We are all learning together, though, because we are honorary organizers of this meta hackathon that we're putting together. For anyone who's new, oh, there we go. Now it's updating and telling me I have people showing up. Okay, cool. So yesterday, I simulated with everybody who joined me what it's like to live with a disability and interact with websites. Then we jumped out of that and took a look at some tools of how we might evaluate a website's accessibility, as well as looked at some checklists that are around and some guides on how really we should be developing accessibly. And then toward the end, we came up with a list of things that we wanted to put in our meta hackathon. That's going to be an accessibility hackathon. So we need to make a site for it before our opening ceremony tomorrow after my third stream, where we actually build the website because we got to do it so hackers actually know what's going on and quickly join us. And then for those who don't know me, I'm a brand new coach. This is my first Global Hack Week streaming. So far, I've had a really warm reception, which is awesome. I use she, her pronouns. I'm a PhD student studying hackathons. I am not here to study you today. And yeah, so because of my PhD, I spend 3 months of the year actually intensively programming during my internships. The other 9 months, I'm doing my PhD work, which is not programming, which is very sad. So these workshops are as much for me as they are for everyone watching. I encourage everybody to tell me, like, hey, here's a shortcut, here's a library, here's our language, here's all these different like neat tips and tricks. Because while I may know keyboard shortcuts really well and command line and Git and all these things, my stuff is usually out of date. I'm not up to date with the current programming community because, again, of that break that I take every year. Well, I take that break during the school year. So yeah, I encourage that we learn together, that you are always welcome to ask questions, share different things. And yeah, so let's go ahead and get started. So let's see. I said that we figured out what we want. We had some really good FAQ questions. These are really good because these are all the questions I normally get whenever I used to run Sunhacks, and I would paste that stuff everywhere for redundancy. And I'd still get these questions. So you've narrowed down the right ones. Like I said, we'll probably be doing a bare bones approach just to get started. I know there's definitely frameworks out there. People mentioned React. I'm not too familiar with Tailwind CSS, but I have seen it around my Twitter circles or Twitter communities that people are talking about it. So we might jump into that tomorrow. And then we need to decide on our name. So originally I came up with Hackers R Us, and that's been the placeholder name because as much as I like Oh, so I accidentally docked myself yesterday, so that's being scrubbed, and it'll be back up eventually. But yeah, that'll come back when it's been cleaned, because new stream, new solo stream meant I didn't know what I was doing, and I accidentally showed information I didn't want shown. So it's not up right now, but it will be probably up within the week. But oh my gosh, there's lots of people. So we got lots more chat coming in. I don't think anyone new probably has joined. But again, the short version is we like explored what it means to have a disability temporarily, have like a hard time really navigating websites when we have restrictions in place, as a way to develop empathy and an explanation as to why we should be developing accessibly. Because there are always lots of groups of people who may or may not know about having disabilities, may have experienced it since birth, or become temporarily or even permanently disabled due to accidents, illness, genetics, etc. Not everyone who has a disability outwardly shows it. And there are a number of different types. And as one person mentioned, disability is a spectrum, much like sexuality and LGBTQ, etc. Everything is on a spectrum. So therefore, same applies. So how do we make sure that we can accommodate the most amount of people? And so that's what the purpose of these streams were, being that I took a class on course content creation and how to make accessible content. And I'm hoping to pass that knowledge on to everybody else and also synthesize it into this website. Cool. So for this website, I cannot answer fellowship program questions at this time, but I would encourage you to post in the Discord for MLH. As for this lovely question, obviously we can't accommodate everyone. Great question. As for what we are trying to do is we're actually going to be following the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, which is constantly being updated, constantly in flux, to basically ensure that everyone who is digitally literate or becoming digitally literate is able to interact with the real world, and more specifically with websites. And so they provide a long list of guidelines on specific themes or concepts, or at least that we should try to achieve. So I can go ahead and pull those up because I still have that up. So this is the Web Content Accessibility Guide. This is your cheat sheet to ensuring that you are able to try to maximize who you're reaching. And so you can pretty much Google WCAG, but otherwise, let me go find the page with the checklist. Yeah. So this is a very, very long checklist, but this checklist also gives you a very nice preview as to what it's referring to. So you'll find in this table of contents here on the left that there's like these main chapters. We want to make sure that our work is perceivable so that anyone, regardless of whether they have a visual disability or not, is able to still perceive the content we are presenting to them. That means when in the case of text alternatives, we have alt text for our images, which we will be doing in our website. That if we're using time-based media, so videos, audio, that there's a transcript available, or subtitles, or some way of ensuring that someone can still read or hear or see the information being presented. So they have a number of examples on what they suggest, and a number of subcategories to their like top level concept that they like pretty much again give hints, techniques, etc. Like what does it mean? What does it look like? And then of course what it actually like consists of. So we also want to make sure that our website is operable, that someone who does or cannot use a mouse or keyboard is still able to interact with our website. So yesterday we learned that you can tab through a website, but if you're only able to use one key, or only say you're only able to use your mouth to interact with things by using a pen in your mouth to press one key at a time, how do we make sure that someone can actually interact with that? And so a mix of that is a matter of ensuring that there's proper focus on things. We saw some bad examples of websites that do it horribly. Stack Overflow, I'm looking at you. That was pretty bad. Where Stack Overflow, when we hit tab upon landing on the website, jumped us straight to the answer text field before we even navigated any of the website. So someone who has no idea about Stack Overflow, maybe cannot visually perceive Stack Overflow, would be really confused as to what's going on, because they can't immediately go to the nav bar. They have to tab like 20 times, 40 times. And it's really hard to figure out where the question is as they're tabbing through because this website is so disorganized. So we also want to make sure that when we are interacting with scroll bars or with carousels for images, we want to make sure that there's time for people to process this information, however they may perceive it. So allowing for pauses, making sure that timing is not critical. Yeah, even being an able person. It's really hard to deal with Stack Overflow. If you're not a programmer, it can be pretty intimidating. And even as a programmer, it's still intimidating. And that's related to other things that Stack Overflow has created for itself. But right. So concepts so far, we have perceivable, we have operable, we have understandable. So when we consider even beyond disabilities, we consider the privileged education. Not everyone is like me who can start a PhD. I'm standing on the shoulders of my ancestors and my parents, where I will be the first PhD student in my family. We are a family of immigrants and from around the world and whatnot. And so the fact that I have family that is fortunate enough to have gotten a master's, I'm now proceeding a step further. But the reason I'm mentioning that is I've had a lot of privilege to my education, which means I can use a lot of big words and I can make things sound more complex than they need to be. And that's something that you often find in academia, which I personally disagree with. As I've come to interact with academia, I find that a lot of times papers are written at such a high level that it's kind of hard to understand what people are saying in the first place. Theory papers are really dense, and not everyone comes in with the reading level that I have. So for me, I've been reading forever. I would say that I read at a very high college level. There are people in my family who did not graduate high school, who did not graduate college. College level English, I can't really say much about that. I'm not a teacher in that field. Yeah, so I want to make sure that our website is understandable. So how do we make sure that if someone who doesn't know what a hackathon is, who's never programmed before, who really doesn't even work with technology, they happen to land on this website and they're trying to figure out digital literacy, that they can easily understand and not be intimidated by what's going on that we're presenting. So while I could describe a hackathon as this intense programming marathon where people are synthesizing these intense projects of novel creation, that's a lot of big words. But I could instead say, hey, a hackathon is this time-based event where people gather in a community to design solutions to common day problems. That's so understandable. That's communicatable compared to the other statement I just said. So we want to make sure our content is understandable. They suggest the WCAG. I don't think it's probably visible here. There's another checklist that we use, but basically that it's at an 8th grade reading level. And again, we want to make sure that people aren't intimidated by the content that's there. And finally, we want to make sure that our work is robust. We're all developers in some way. My partner and I, we joke that we break things. That's just our job. The amount of times I've texted people because I've been using their tool or emailing or sending bug reports because I'm like, hey, I broke the thing. This isn't the intended function, but I accidentally did it anyway. Or, hey, I have this new device that is region locked and my partner and I went to a museum and he broke the little audio device we were using to explore the museum because we were in a different country and he doesn't understand the language. And so he was fiddling around with it and he's like, I've locked myself out. So he went downstairs and they're like, how'd you manage to do that? And he's like, I tried to get back to the main screen. So we as developers are notorious for breaking things, which another thought to consider is users will never do what you want them to do. Users will always find ways to not use things the way you intended or programmed for. So how do we make sure that anyone interacting with our site, in whatever capacity they can, don't break things? Robustness. But you also want to be able to understand what's wrong. So maybe when you've been interacting with a website that makes you log in, you've forgotten your password and it just tells you wrong password. And you're like, cool. I don't remember which password version I used here because was it I need 2 special characters or uppercase letters? That kind of thing. Quality assurance is so important. Quality assurance is actually really undervalued, sadly. Companies like to cut corners and skip quality assurance, but quality assurance is the reason we have some accessible products, actually. Because by involving users that are diverse, you actually get a chance to bring them to the table and to share their experiences and therefore properly test your stuff. Cool. So we've briefly reviewed the concepts we talked about yesterday, and if I'm like kind of sounding stuffed up, it's because I think I have allergies today. I'm still figuring out if I have allergies, actually. But cool. So that's an overview of last time and a bit of the concepts. And then today, like I said, for those who joined me yesterday, we'll be doing design work today. And what that means is I have no idea how to use Figma, but everybody seems to be using Figma these days, so we're going to use Figma. And by that, I mean we're learning together. So the way that I usually start designing websites is I start with a wireframe. And what a wireframe is the bare bones skeleton, like not the intense content and the pretty colors. I just need placeholders. Where are things going to go? So when I do have that content, the assets, the text, I just paste it in and go. So let's go ahead and, oh, that's right. I forgot. We were supposed to figure out a name. Hang on. Very important. Right. So we have areweaccessible.com. We have easytoread.com, and we have Accessible. I saw somebody put a vote in for Accessible. Any other preferences? Because so far we have one vote. So post in chat. Tell me what we're gonna name our hackathon. I'm kind of leaning toward Accessible, so that's 2 votes now. Gotta make sure. Okay. So we have that person. All right. Any votes for something? Okay. Try Accessible when you have dyslexia. Uh-oh. I am not able to test this at this time, given that I am not dyslexic. But that is a very valid point. And the way around that is to ensure that we're using a font that decreases the difficulty of reading. So fun fact for today, you get to be today's lucky 10,000 if you're familiar with XKCD, although I'm sure that number has changed since the time in which that person has published it. Comic Sans was actually made to be accessible text. And then it got overused and became a meme, and everyone hated it. So there is actually a new form of Comic Sans that is, I think, in development, where it's supposed to be Comic Sans, but not the meme and overused version, because people just like went ham on it. So as far as accessible fonts, we want to make sure that every letter has distinct weights. We can't personally change those. Again, there are fonts that we can just go Google that have better weights. But the idea is to make sure that letters that are shaped similarly are no longer shaped similarly. So if we were to put A and E together here, they look really, really similar. If you were to just like look from afar, they're kind of just these circle blobs. So if we ensure that there's more distinctness to set them apart, whether it's increasing in the A, that far right line, and making it like slightly thicker, that it takes up a little more space, now you have a distinct way to recognize that letter instead of it just flipping around all the time. And so when the most like that I've seen, the best example would be, again, the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. Let's go to the checklist. So this website does use an accessible font. So you'll notice the interesting way in which like the T and the A present themselves. You can also pull this up on your own computer, because just watching it through a stream, you may not be able to see it as well. But there's a slight difference that makes the T look almost uncomfortable. At least that's how I would describe it. For me, when I look at the T and the A in text alternatives, it looks kind of funky. It doesn't look like how what I would normally expect a balanced font to look like, where all the letters have the same weight, stroke, etc. So that's one way. Yeah, I actually really love typography. I'm one of those people who likes to like read books about it, because I got really into design in high school. So it can be a little hard for some people, in that it's not like enjoyable. But since we are coming up with a new name, perhaps we can. Yes. Perhaps we can come up with something else. So maybe, let me undo that. So For now, because everybody voted for it, we'll use Hexccessible. But I want to QA manifest. Yes, no, that's exactly the point. I want people to be critiquing what we're doing. I want everybody to engage in this work, in that we are collectively building something that is accessible. Obviously, we haven't gotten started because people keep asking questions, which I'm fine with. I really don't mind. It's good. It means y'all are engaging and you're getting the point. But we also have easy to read, where that might be our backup plan. Because, as I mentioned for those that joined yesterday, and I'll repeat it today, capitalizing letters is really helpful, especially when you're using hashtags for screen reader purposes. When you are using a screen reader, the screen reader is looking for capital letters in like whole, like single words that aren't separated by spaces in order to distinguish like what is a word. And so for the case of hashtags, if you leave everything lowercase, it's really hard to read because you can't tell where one word starts and one word ends unless you're really good at being like, this is a word, this is a word, this is a word. So easy to read might be our backup plan. Cool. So let me bold these two so I know that when we come back. We have our requests, and then we have that. So let's go to Figma because I do want to get started. So, like I said, I kind of cheated in that I don't trust my design skills to be able to make a masterpiece in 2 hours. So instead, I drew out, let me move this actually, because there's other notes on this page that aren't related. I'm a usually paper and pen kind of gal, but I was doing this in a rush. So today we deal with iPad. iPads are super useful because I get to very quickly sketch out like what I'm working on. So there's lots of bright orange lines here, but this is a very rough outline of what I was thinking about. So we have our website, which is going to be a desktop size. I learned that apparently y'all just have frames that you use. That's probably not the word. But we have this main frame that is going to be our website, and it's the size of an average desktop. It says, 1440 by 1024. While I would normally love to be advantageous and smart about my design and be like, yes, I would love it to be size responsive or something like that. I think it's responsive something. But the idea is that if somebody were on an iPad, if someone were on a phone, that it would scale accordingly and stuff would shift. Apparently you can do that in Figma. I'm not at a point in the design that we can reasonably figure out what that looks like. So we're going to put down some objects and get started. So when we were looking at things yesterday, I think it's frame. Is it frame? No, it's not frame. Frame is a little base thing that I do. I want to create an object. There we go. So I want to create our header. And so our header is going to be connectable. Ooh, that's a cool name. Connectable. Things that can be, we're connecting hackers in our meta hackathon to become honorary organizers, but we will keep an eye on that. So we have our rectangle. This is going to be our header. If you are getting into design or learning about design, label your stuff, please. Good design is labeling. We're not using colors just yet because I want to spend some time using a tool that one of the previous emulators that I definitely watched her stream at 2 times speed to learn about Figma. And also accessible design in Figma that I didn't actually finish. But she had a really good tool to use about color picking. So we are also using that. But we know that we want a header, so when someone first lands on that page, they'll be able to interact with it. And so based on what we were told by our volunteers from yesterday, we know that we need all this information. So what I did on my own time is I went and sorted these out into thinking about if I were to have a nav bar on top, which desktop did I use? What do you mean, which desktop did I use? Yes, thank you, responsive layouts. But what do you mean, what desktop? Oh, 1440 by 1024. Yes. That is an arbitrary size that was given to me by Figma. My desktop is presumably not that size. I haven't checked in ages. Right. So our header bar is going to consist of the following, and we'll come back to this. We want an info section, sponsors, organizers, and FAQs. We'll come back to that. And then for our footer, we'll usually have social media links and icons. Little made with love symbol. It's super cute. I love doing this for Sun Hacks, or at least seeing it in Sun Hacks. Maybe a copyright. So we have some of our content kind of figured out. So let's go ahead and go back to this. And so we know we're going to have some text boxes. Give text. Text. I am learning things today. And then we also want to make sure that people can actually read it. So rather than just going with 12 point, we're going to go with larger than that, not 20 point. Let's go with more. 40. There's a drop down menu to select frame. Yes, frame. This is what I used when I goofed originally. So apparently this is like my canvas space. I'm actually very familiar with Adobe Illustrator and Photoshop, and that's what I've predominantly used when I do design work. So probably my shortcuts will transfer, but the words that I'm using will not. Thank you very much for being helpful in chat. I appreciate it. And because I'm a creature of habit, I would like to center this. That's fine about height. We're going to put this in the center of the header. Let's see if I can copy. What is it usually? Alt? Yes. Good. Good. We're getting places. Cool. Have I tried Adobe? I love Adobe, but it's expensive. So I don't love Adobe in that regard. I had free access to it through my university and through some courses I took. And that was how I got into using it. I was fortunate enough to have a number of tutorials available because the professor of that class made it such that we could access those. Organizers, like we mentioned, and I'm just following my very rough draft of what I showed you on my iPad. So now we have some text in our header. I was also thinking we might add a hamburger menu because that is a classic navigational tool. If it ends up being that it's not accessible or it's not useful or it's something that we should use in our responsive design, then that will only appear when the screen is reduced or in width to a certain size. And we can set that limit later. But let's see if maybe I can just... There's no shortcut. Can I just... learning new things. Teach a dog new tricks. Components. I'll come back to that. I'm going to put a placeholder though, because like I said, we are doing wireframing. Can I label this with something? No, that's fine. We'll name it this. Hamburger menu. We're going to lock that in place because we don't want it moving while I... Oh, let me change also the colors of this so we can find it later. Ah, there we go. We're going to make that stand out for right now because I want to see it later. And then we're going to select all this and we're going to make sure they're all level and we're going to see if we can space it. Is there a spacing for distribute? I put that not quite center because we're probably going to have something on the right. Yes, we're going to have the MLH banner because we are a member official event, everybody. Congrats, we did it. I'm not going to tell you how we did it. And then I could swear there's a way that... What if I don't want a fill? So normally I would do this in InDesign, where InDesign allows you to put placeholder things, but I don't have InDesign, so we're not doing that. And I also wanted to make sure that I was using something that everybody could access, because then it's not fair for me to teach you Adobe when you can't afford that, because reality is Adobe is expensive, which is why we're doing it this way. Maybe There we go. That's what I was looking for. Here's the thing. I wanted place an image. Nope, that's not what I wanted. I thought it would let me. Okay, one sec. We're gonna cheat really quick. Let's see. Show me. So I have a sample wireframe uploaded as a sample from the Figma website, and I know they have instances where you can create a box for the frame that I'm trying to do. Testimonial body? No, this is text. Hero. There we go. Rectangle. It's just a rectangle that's empty. Okay, I'm just... All right, cheating is over. We now know what to do. Is there a way to change this? I want to have a transparent stroke. There we go. So we do have a stroke. Let's increase the weight. And then let's make this transparent. That's a little easier to work with. Now we have some high contrast things. Okay. And then we also want to make sure that this is level with these. Go ahead and align that. And then we still need the MLH banner, which I'm going to draw here. We're going to color it blue, or as close to blue as I can get. For the sake of understanding that it is MLH banner. And we won't. Okay. Auto layout to show everything is spaced evenly, horizontally, and vertically. Today I learned. That's pretty cool. Ooh, I can create assets. That is useful for later. Cool. So we have an idea of where things are being placed. And then can I create funky shapes? Yes. That involves the pen. I am not going to test my mouse drawing skills at the moment. Can I do... no, I'm going to need to. Pen. Do you let me? Yes, good. Oh, you're weird about it. That's the problem. Got it. Okay. Don't mind me while I just remember how to use things. So I am drawing an outline that's terrible of a rainbow shape because I thought it would be cute. I thought it'd be really interesting to have a rainbow logo with... I don't want pen anymore. Sure, let's do it close. I'm going to have clouds. I thought it'd be cute. And I thought it'd be an interesting way to simplify the design without adding too much complexity because, again, we still want readability and functionality. And we're going to paste that twice. And then, can I not make clouds out of this? I guess I can add points to it, but then we're getting into, like, details. Can I add points? Is that a thing I can do? Because I can do it in Illustrator. Cool. Well, I don't feel like figuring that out right now. Cloud. Cloud 2. And then I'm going to add some text so I know what it is because I don't trust myself. Copy that. And we're going to paste that over here. And we're going to add text here to label things. There is probably a labeling tool that I'm not aware of. Rainbow. And then we need our name. Cool. So now we're going to add all our content. So we have Hexessable as a temporary name. Again, considering what some of our watchers said. Thank you for my abstract art. I appreciate that it is being appreciated. And when is it happening? April 1st. forever in the future. It's a very futuristic hackathon. And we are having it digitally. So now we have date. We're kind of doing some content, kind of not. I'm kind of being lazy about it because we'll make it pretty later. There. In space. We should have it in space. I like space. If it will let me edit things. There we go. Space. Did you know there's a podcast about disability and how they're trying to get people with disabilities into space? I think it's no, it's not a 60-second one. But I was introduced to the podcast about a number of them who are trying to prove that they are actually more adaptable in space because of the way that they've learned to navigate the real world with their disabilities. And so as a result, they feel that they are better like astronauts because they are already able to work in constraint-based environments. So definitely worth a check to if you listen to podcasts. Okay, and then last thing we need is a footer. So we're gonna unlock that, copy that, and we're gonna move that down and relabel that footer. Cool. So we have a general idea of where things are going, and this is a not very pretty picture. This is more to just prove a point that we are making simple design. It came together in like 5 minutes, probably a little more than that, because there was a lot of critiquing of myself, which happens. So the last things we need is some more text, and we're gonna just put social media links here. Oh, okay. There's a lot going on here, I'm aware, which is why I said welcome to chaos. I did not plan this stream very well. The reality is I'm teaching myself how to use Figma. The other reality is we are also learning about accessibility, in that we are trying to make a simple design, first of all. We are trying to ensure that we're being meta because that's my niche thing, that I like being meta. A lot of the things that I have done in my life end up being extremely meta. So we are making a fake hackathon and therefore a fake hackathon website. And this makes it more enjoyable, I feel like, because I am extremely familiar with making hackathon websites, but I also want to give everybody an opportunity to have some roles and responsibilities in contributing to their own hackathon. It's not often that you get to organize something. It is very intensive. So I am making that process less of a hurdle. And I said April 1st because I didn't want to put it in the past. Otherwise, I would have said February like 30th or something. And then I need to change the size of this text because footers do not need to be as big as the headers typically. If I can get it to thank you. Cool. And then we're going to unlock that because I want this centered because I can't handle it not being centered. Cool. And just to make sure that is perfectly centered, I'm going to lock that again. And then I think it's this one. So now we have a general idea of where things will go and not what it will look like. But this is the wireframe. This is our base that we're going to work with. So we're going to create a brand new layer, and then we'll actually put something together that is actually would fit for society. It's actually presentable. I am, of course, using the free plan. No, pages are totally different. That's no, delete page. I don't like this idea anymore. Great, we're gonna add a new frame instead. Frame, and I want a desktop. And it was going to be the desktop frame. So my understanding is that I can move this. Ooh, excellent. Can I make things transparent? Is that a thing I can do? I can turn it on or off. Transparency. I can make things. Okay, I just gotta find it then. Use as mask, outline. No. Nope. Ooh, add auto layout. This must have been what was mentioned earlier. Okay, That is a save for later note. Eyeball icon. Yes, but I don't want to make it visible. Fine. We'll just do it side by side. It's fine. Okay. But before we do that, we need to pick colors. We're doing the fun part now. This one. Random palette. Okay. So apparently this website, let me zoom in for the masses. Apparently this website gives you high enough contrast colors to use when you are doing design. Transparencies in the colors. You can just change the percentage. Okay, I found a reason to dislike Figma already. In Adobe Illustrator and everything, you can change the transparency level of layers all at once instead of having to change the individual objects. I perhaps have just not found it yet, and I refuse to Google it at this current instance because there are more important things to do, like making a pretty website that is accessible to the best of our abilities with the knowledge that we have. Cool. So it says that the color pairings follow WCAG 2.1, which is the current version that we're on. 2.2 is the current one we're on. 2.3 is coming out this April. And it says it's AA standard. So that means that while it's not fully 100% compliant, which there is no such thing as 100% accessibility, as we established earlier, accessibility is a spectrum. It is actually quite hard to accommodate each and every possible accessibility method there could possibly be, or ways to make things accessible, because there just may not be an invention for that yet. So if you select the layer, you can see all the colors used in the selection and edit them together. Okay, we'll do that when we come back. Right. So one of the other MLH coaches, Ellie, was presenting about using Figma to create a phone application that was a better Goodreads clone, which in my opinion, we need that. Goodreads sucks. But she was using this color palette generator. And honestly, kind of here for this. I like the plant vibes on this one. Any standout to anybody else? I'm not feeling brown. I'm just not. I don't know. I kind of like this one. It makes me think of flowers, but I feel like this green and blue is too much to distinguish between things. So maybe I'm gonna shuffle it. The one above brown. Rip. Purple. Happy hues. Sure, let's see what else is out there. Happyhues.com. Oh, this is so cute. Oh, this is so cute. Okay, we'll jump between these two. And put that there. Cool. So now we have lots of colors. I do like purple. I do indeed like purple. Am I able to like lock things? Like, okay. I've used other color pickers that are not accessible things where I'm able to like lock in colors that I like. I mean, I guess I can just copy. I like this for the darkness of it. Let's see. Invalid. Oh yeah, duh. I copied the wrong parts. Shame on me. I know graphic design. Okay. What do we got? And it's using a 451 contrast. Pairings have sufficient contrast to use with normal text, large text, and graphics. Given that we are using a logo that I have not yet created that is going to likely be a rainbow, I don't think I'm good with these. Let's see. Let me look at this side. Happy hues. Hue, tint, tone, shade. Yes. Where are those? Psychology of color. This is very useful, I think, if you are looking to learn about color theory. But I don't think in terms of it being explicitly accessible, it's the right one. But I will, however, save this for later because this is very useful to other things. You can see I was looking at tutorials. Let's go back to this one. Has a guide for where to put things. Oh, but that's the fun of design. Oh my gosh. These are really bright. I like these a lot more actually. Black text, classic. I do like that. I really like this first one. What does everybody think? This first one, I feel like we can get chaotic and still be accessible. Any thoughts? Complaints? Going once. Going twice. Great, I'm downloading it. It's so cute. I'm so excited. Like, you can make so many cute stickers with it. Cool, cool, cool. Even though I downloaded it, we're still gonna... Palette seems like ice creams that nobody buys and are stacked on the side. Harsh. Wow. Oh my gosh, that's so harsh. Too bad I'm using it anyway. Right. I do want to see I'm gonna make copies. Is there? Wait. What was that? Oh, this is to edit the pens. What's this? Paint bucket. Do I get to eyedrop things? No. Darn. Okay. I know how to create circles, so I'm gonna go do that properly. Right? There we go. Yeah, shame on me. I know how to do that. Okay, we have our panel of colors. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5. This makes me uncomfortable. Let me move things. And then we're gonna make this this color, so I can just pick it. I'm already really, really happy about these colors. I'm a simple person who likes fun colors. I'm actually really, really excited. I know I keep mentioning that, but it's really... I find it sometimes intimidating, even when you've been doing it for a while, and you never know if people are gonna like it. But this makes me think of like the little Flintstone vitamins that like people used to have as kids, like the little crunchy ones, or like Easter Skittles, which probably taste nasty, frankly. It's like bright, but not too bright. Need more room in the frame. Select the frame and drag the bottom part down. All softwares that use the same shortcuts for components and tools. So I actually have a really cool story about standards of UI UX. So back in the early 2000s, even probably before then. So okay, let's go back a little further. So in the 1980s, the internet was created, but it wasn't quite accessible and it wasn't popular use. In the 2000s is when the internet boom happened, and the 2K, whatever it's called, Y2K, number of other things. UI was not standard, and neither was UX. So if you go back and look at websites from the 2000s, they are glitter, punchy, bright in your face, things flashing, animation, GIFs, all these tons and tons of things, because people were experimenting with what you could or couldn't do. So briefly, I did scientific development with an astronomy lab, and they were using a software that was using strange conventions for user interaction. Like the things that we're comfortable with doing today, the fact that I'm able to kind of move things around and kind of do some shortcuts that I'm already familiar with in Adobe are not the same in this. Like drag and drop using your mouse click, no, that's not what they do. Labeling things, like if I wanted to be on a picture and draw a square and then get a zoom in on that or cut it out, it did not use normal conventional UI UX experiences. And that's because that tool was so old. People just got used to using it in that community, and that's fine. But when other people who were new, me, came in, it's like, who uses this nightmare willingly? And so the thing is, the person that I was working with, they had submitted they'd submitted issues and fixes and requests to that software site when they were a PhD student. I think now they're a tenured faculty. So that's a long amount of time between when they were a student and them still not getting their asks. That tool has not been updated in like ever. So that's a like quick fun story-ish about softwares that are extremely old not being updated and people having to subscribe to nightmare UI UX. So please do better. So, oh, cool. We're at like an hour, which means we got to hurry. Cool. So we know that we want a header. So we're going to redraw things. And now we get to just play with colors. This is the fun part. I really like this part of things. And what did I forget to do? I forgot to label things. Shame on me. Oh, these are not in the same order. Whatever. Okay. This is yellow. This is green. Olive? Peach. Maybe this is the problem with having colors. That's like more of an olive than the other one. This one's like a gray green. And this one's more like a blue green. Cool. And we're gonna lock these. Group selection. And then we're gonna lock it. And then this is our new header. Come on. I know that some people probably prefer what's it called? Drop shadows. I don't. Drop shadows need to be used in a timely and opportunistic place. Is there an eye picker? Oh. Cool, but that's not what I wanted. I wanted color styles. Oh, is this what I would? Oh, I could have uploaded that. That's a problem for future me. Yeah, drop shadow. What else do you have? Inner shadow, layer blur, background blur. We'll come back to that. I've got ideas. Yeah, is there no like eye picker? Eyedrop tool? Eyedrop tool. Hand, comments, widgets, text, pen. There is. I have not found it yet. We're living by the seat of our pants, folks. Lots and lots of looking. This is both intuitive and not. There's an eyedropper icon. Clearly, I am not looking. Oh, no, I was not looking. I'm observant. Let's start with green for now. And then let's go ahead and copy all of these. We're just gonna paste that over here. Make that centered for now. Oh, I forgot. I need to go get synhex.io. Let's go rip the MLH banner. That is not there. Let's go to madhex.io because they have the banner. Great. Inspect element. Oh yeah, I left that really big. I'm looking for the MLH banner. Nope. I want inspect. There it is. This. I need the image. Show me the image. Copy. Can I just... Can I drag the image? Ugh. All right, hang on. Gotta save things to a file really quick. Save as. Save. And then we're gonna... Yeah, so that's the nice thing about me. I learn oddly fast. Or at least I pick up things if I have a base to go off of. Because I'm doing a PhD, which means I have to be learning all the time. But also, I started my PhD wanting to be a better learner. We're going to go ahead and minimize that. Because I was going to hackathons and I was like, oh my gosh, like people are going to hackathons and leaving 3 days later subject matter experts on their project, like of the libraries that they use, the bugs they ran into. Listening to hackers talk about what they've learned is incredible. And very like there's a lot of envy from me in that I'm like, wow, I wish I could learn that fast. That said, I have had a lot of time to. I need to lock that layer. Shame. Um, I've had a lot of time to experiment with what it means to learn. I like learning about learning, which is again super meta. Have we learned nothing about me? If nothing, we should learn that I like meta things. I want to move this to the left because left justified makes me feel better. And then we want this centered. Cool. And yeah, right. We were talking about the hamburger menu, and I want that to come up when the window is smaller. So far, I think it's readable. I think the contrast is good enough, but we can check that later. And now we need to figure out a background. So let me also create, did I label everything? Yes, this doesn't have to be dealt with. That can be locked. Let's group all these actually. Group. And navbar sections. Header. And then I also like symmetrical design, so we're actually going to duplicate this. Paste, copy, paste as. Ooh, cool. Copy properties. That's neat. Actually, no. That's no, not yet. Not yet. What else do we have? Oh, right. We have some assets defined. So let's go ahead and make that here. Put this here. Open new window, and we want stock photos. Group images.google.com. Let's see what that pulls up. Rainbow stock photo. Great, rainbow. What's the license? License agreement, blah, 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 blah. Perpetual. We do not have exclusive rights. Tell me about how we can use this one. $12. No. Rainbow with clouds free. That was more than I expected. Okay. Cloud clip art. Clip art's good. Clip art's cute. Sketch. Clip art is too childish. This one's okay. Free download. Free download is nice. Attribution. Attribution required, such as starting download. Great. Anytime. We're gonna go back to rainbow. Chances are I'm gonna have to make one because I am so thoroughly dissatisfied. Royalty free. Tell me more. Is this like really pixelated though? Kinda. Oh, good. We have our download. Let's go drag that over. Oh, Lord. That is large. Oh. Oh, good. They do use that. Okay. What am I doing? I want to be focused on this one. You can tell I don't have arrow keys by how I'm interacting with this. Shift. Can I just scale this in or scale? It's so big and it doesn't need to be. We're just gonna have a massive cloud as our. Oops, that's not what I wanted. I want that. Oh, that's good to know for cropping. Okay. I know it's super painful to watch me figure this out, but that is the learning process. I can't see chat actually. Symmetry, nice color palette. Try Google a Wes Anderson color palette. I do like Wes Anderson. We are trying to be unique here, people. I have no idea what I'm doing. We're just being chaotic, but it's okay. This is how design works because I say so. And then, so I can go download this really quick. Oh my god, this is bad design. Give me the download. Wow, this is actually terrible design. This pop-up window is terrible. I want the PNG. I don't want an outline. Yeah, re-download. Great. And we're gonna drop that in. Oh, that's a wonderful size. How lovely. Our clip art searching is done. I'm gonna shrink that down a little bit, and we're gonna send this to the back. Not that bad. Select layer. Okay, we'll bring these to the front then. What? Did I do something wrong? Yes, I did not put them in there. These should be moved layers wise above. There we go. We're gonna make that cloud. All right, and then cloud left. Rainbow. MLH 2023 banner. Cool. We have our logo. Should I flip the? No. We're gonna make it simple. Cool. So far, so good. Now let's group these so we can move that all together. Logo. Logo design has never been that fast. And we actually, is there an auto layout? Add auto layout. Oh, that was terrible. Never mind. That was a bad time to try it. How do I want to center this? Okay, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do a convoluted way to make this work, but a way that works for me. That send to back and control rectangle 2 and logo, and then we're gonna center it and center. There we go. And now we can get rid of this. And now we can lock that because we're not moving that anytime soon is the hope. All right, now let's add the text. We don't need all of these. No, there should be actually separate things, but let's ungroup them. Don't need them to be grouped. What's going on? Surely I can just. There we go. Okay. And we're gonna just jump these beneath each other in any order, and cool. Do that, and then I want them to be distribute vertically. There we go. These are still a little bit close, so let's drop this down. Oh, that did work. Fantastic. That was too low though. Let's make this here. Yeah, and now we can make things. There we go. Lots of good spacing. Oops. Now we can group this back up again. Put that in the center. That. And let's go ahead and edit it. And so we have accessible. Maybe that was the wrong thing to do. It's too high up. Let's go ahead and grab that, shift it down. Actually, let's unlock this. It should not be perfectly center. That was a mistake. Now let's lock that. Lock will go. Here. Okay, accessible. We need to make that larger. Oh, I'm gonna have to do that again, aren't I? We said the date was April 1st, 20 millions of twos. And location, space. And I don't think we need this anymore, actually. Just get rid of that. And so we'll do that again, where we fix everything. I need to ungroup it first. Do that. Perfect. We can make this larger because we want this to be a title. So we can adjust. Is there like a way to just auto space things? Regular. We can also do bold, but I want to get the text box to scale with it. There we go. And then we're going to lower this. This should be smaller. General rule of advice when you are doing design, do not have more than like 2, maybe 3 font sizes. Yeah, because you want to ensure that people can interact with it consistently and not get super confused why there are so many different sizes. So right now I have 3 sizes and we'll probably stick to that. Yeah, because like these should be easier to read, but then you also want to distinguish like what's a title, what's something that is the main point of this website. You want people to kind of get the point as soon as they make it to the site. Like, okay, we know we have info, sponsors, organizers, and FAQ later. We have a logo, and then we have the name of the event. So we have some information that draws the eye, but for the most part, like if someone is familiar with a hackathon, they already know what they're looking at. If they're not, they're like, okay, there's an event going on. Like I can get that much. I have a location and I have a date. I don't know anything else about it. So far so good. Cool. And then, I don't like this background being white. Let's go back to, oh, that's how, okay. Let's go grab that. Move that here. And what would be a good background for this? Huh. I don't know. Let's play with ideas. Let's see. Draw a rectangle. I actually do like the drop shadow on that top bar. That's very good. I do like that. I'm going to drop this below the header because we want that. And then let's use the eye picker and that works. That also works. How does the other one look? That's too skin tone. I like this one better for now. What happens if we do that? Not a lot of contrast to distinguish between the header and the main page, but let's stick with that for now because at least things are visible, if annoying. Cool. All right. At this point, though, I want feedback. What do you think? Obviously, the colors are annoying and the logo is trash because I use stock photos. But that aside, feedback, things you would improve, things you think are not accessible. I went and buy ice cream from this website. Fam, that is not the point. We are not buying ice cream. We are selling a hackathon. And sometimes hackathons need to stand out by doing purposely strange things. The last rule of design is to know when to break the rules. Any other feedback? Anything that maybe isn't accessible so far? I mean, I know this is just a flat design, so we're not talking about screen readers, ARIA labels, etc. But we are at least kind of starting to think about, is this high enough contrast that someone can interact with it? Is it organized from just the first page that someone might, the name clickable or in a div? Oh, we forgot registration. That's important. Let's go put registration. Let's go make a button. Button. Can I type in things? Oh, Boo. I don't appreciate this. Register. And that one will be significantly smaller on the range of 36. What was this size? 40. Let's keep that at 40. Gotta be consistent. And then we're also gonna center. Whoops, that needs to be locked. Background. And then we're gonna lock that. And then, oh my gosh, I did not do the right thing. Oh, because that's the button. This is why you label, folks. This is why you label. Okay. Button. And then we're gonna group that. Oops. I did something that I don't want to learn about right now. We're grouping that. So this is registered button. Clickability is indeed a good point. Register button. Now we're gonna make those. That's something got selected that shouldn't have been. Okay, go figure. That's not the text, is it? No, it is. That's fine. That's what I want. All right, 572. Can I copy this? Is it gonna let me constrain portion independent corners? Oh, I do need to change the radius. 572, 479. And then 297.65. 97.65. Now these are totally equal and should not do weird things. Okay. And center that. And then we want rounded things. Let's go with 50. Don't like that. 25. Better. 13.5. Veggie. Let's go back to 25. And then we want to change the background on this color that's high enough contrast. So we're going to use the same as the header for right now, just because I want to have consistency so far. That is not high enough contrast. Never mind. We're going to pick a different color. That's contrasty enough, although maybe not on the black. A little chaotic, but it'd be like that. Cool. Let's go make some more things. Actually, no, we're gonna take a break. 5-minute break. Think about what the next bottom pages might look like. I welcome your feedback on things maybe we could do to improve, colors to swap out, or just things you might be realizing we could do to make this look better and also be more accessible. So I'll see y'all in 5 minutes. Post your ideas in chat, and yeah. Okay, it's been a little over 5 minutes, or maybe it was under 5 minutes, or maybe we're at 5 minutes. Time is hard. Um, so I was looking at the time that we have left, and I wanted to figure out what we could do next. So we have kind of the front page basically done. Like we could stop here and go into prep work for tomorrow. So I mentioned in previous stream yesterday that we would be again doing bare bones CSS, JS, HTML. And so if you want to host it on a subdomain or a website, we can jump into that really quick. That'll probably take about 15 to 20 minutes because I've got that set up because I wasn't sure how long it would take for the DNS to populate. But we can jump into getting things set up for tomorrow, or we can keep going on the design. I want to see where people are at, what people are wanting, and then go from there. So option 1 being do a little bit of prep coding, option 2 being continuing with design work. No answer is not an option. How to use the domain name. I guess you can do it tomorrow and announce it. So I didn't use domainname.com for my stuff. But that isn't quite, I guess it is relevant. If someone wanted to set up a website in preparation for tomorrow, coding, okay. Okay, cool. So, like I said, these workshops are as much for me as they are for you all. While I have enough memory to say I can do HTML, bare bones CSS, my JS isn't super strong. So I do actually have a boilerplate for HTML stuff that I found online. So we're gonna go ahead and work on getting this boilerplate index.html stuff into a GitHub repo. We'll set it up as a pages, and then we'll go ahead and make sure that we can host it on a website. That, like I said, should take about 20 minutes, and then we'll probably end the stream there. I do also want to make sure that people who have joined us that are new get a chance to join in on the fun. So let me go find this survey. So those who joined me yesterday, I made everybody honorary organizers for this event. And so where's the link? Oh my gosh. So my hope was that there's always an organizer page on a hacker website or a hackathon website. And so in order to involve you all, since you all are helping me, I want to display you on the organizer page that we'll have. So if you haven't already, I'm also going to send a form link, upload, basically respond to it with a fake name. I guess it can be your Discord username or whatever your username is, but please don't use your real name. I don't want anybody getting doxxed or anything. And then also find a stock photo of something that you would like to be your profile page or your profile image. Also not of you, please. We've got some funny responses already. I can go through some of them if you want inspiration. We have Jeremy the Snail from Wikipedia. We have seems to be an image of Thailand. Woman throwing spaghetti in a forest. Illustrations. A Macintosh Classic 2. So it does not have to be your face. It should not be your face. But you are welcome to fill out that form so that way when we are populating the rest of this design / when I do this afternoon / this evening to make it like actually a nice design that we can work from tomorrow as our reference point, that we have source images that we can use for tomorrow's website. So let's go ahead and get started. So let me go find that page. Cool. So GitHub. I already made a repo for this, and we're going to jump to it super fast. So what you will be doing is you can go ahead and just go straight to GitHub. Let me zoom in as well. I go to GitHub. I've named this a terrible name because I was testing to see if things would actually work. But you're going to make a brand new GitHub, name it whatever you'd like. You're going to add a README because we are doing all of this from the UI. We're not doing it in Terminal or through an IDE at this time. We'll do that tomorrow, where I will switch to my laptop where it's actually I can develop on my laptop. I love my Windows computer, but sometimes Windows does not love me, which is to say all the time Windows does not love me. But if a majority of people are Windows users, I will try to make sure that my computer is set up to actually do Windows development. But if most of y'all are Mac, then I will probably actually just make sure I do that. But like I said, people are probably jumping in / coming back from that 5-minute break. We are switching to doing some prep work for tomorrow, where we are opening up a link I sent that gives you an HTML like boilerplate, pretty much just says welcome. We're also going to be creating a brand new repo. So for those unfamiliar with GitHub, you will pretty much go to your repositories, and then you'll click the new button. And we're not using a template. We'll name it whatever we'd like that is unique within our stuff. You can add a description if you'd like, but it is, of course, optional. And then it is always good to have a README file. So add a README file because, again, we're using the UI for this. So go ahead and add a README. We don't need a git ignore yet. I don't know if we'll need one. We'll see where things take us tomorrow. But if we do get to that point, then we'll add one in and I'll share a link for that as well. And then if you do want to choose a license, I believe there is a license that is preferred. And I really want to say it's one of these top 3. You don't really have to do a license though, because this is not real. So don't do a license. And then once you're done, go ahead and click create repository. So I'm gonna wait a moment while people jump to that. We're gonna go back to that repo I created. It can be public, it can be private. Mine was private and will be made public shortly. There's really not much, but I'll walk you through what it is that I've did to set this up. The README will be auto-populated from when you check create a README. Let's go ahead and update this. This will be Cecilia's first GHW workshop. And we're just going to name it, we're going to give descriptions. If you're familiar with markup, Markdown. I always get it wrong. I think it's Markdown because .md is Markdown. I get it wrong all the time. We make a bare bones HTML, CSS, JS website for our imaginary accessibility hackathon. Hackathon because we gotta be memey. And then what do you need to do? Steps. Create a new repo. Update the README. Create a new repo with readme.md, no license, no template, no .gitignore at this time. Update the README. And we're going to add an HTML file, index.html. And we're going to link it from what I sent y'all from this boilerplate code. There's a way to do links in Markdown that I forgot. We're going to go Google that super fast. Oh yeah, it is Markdown. That's smart. M&D. Okay, cool. I need links. Linky link. Links. Link. Control F. Alrighty. Link in parentheses. Great. From this boilerplate code, because we are going to make this an accessible interactive README. From this boilerplate code, we have descriptive text. And then we're going to put that in parentheses. And now anyone using a screen reader on GitHub will be able to see the preview. See, This is accessible because we are using descriptive language. We are avoiding redundancy in our link references. We've been descriptive about what the link is referring to. It'll be boilerplate code. And we have the actual link, of course, linked to it. And we don't have the link visible anywhere else. That said, there are professors and people, and I mentioned professors on purpose because that's where I've actually had the complaint from, that prefer to actually have the link like visible, especially in case of the link not working. I think that's a copy paste error usually, or because someone has manually typed something. 0 to 10, do not recommend. And then at CNAME, we'll go over that. And enable GitHub pages. Is there anything else? Update. Kind of a vague idea of the steps. We're going to make changes. Normally, I would not be so quick to just say update changes and then say update readme as my commit message, but we do want a fast setup. All right, so we updated the readme. I sent you all the boilerplate. Now, there is a quick little edit to ensure. Okay, it probably will work. I did not feel like testing that at this time. There are 2 lines missing from this HTML file, namely the script and the CSS reference, which let me go pull this up. So I basically just copy pasted this by going to the repo, saying add file. You can either save the HTML file to your local desktop, or you can and then upload it, or you can just create new file. I used create new file. I typed in index.html, and then I basically just pasted this stuff because it was easier that way when I was doing the setup. I really wanted a fast test. You can do this through cloning your own repo, forking, setting up the upstream, etc. I don't intend to do that at this time because I don't know that my desktop is GitHub compatible at this time. I updated my GitHub bash, but yeah, I haven't set it up, so we're not doing that. Anyway, the 2 things that I removed the reference to the style.css and the script to index.js because I don't have those files in this website or in this repo at this time. So remove those when you paste it, just to ensure that if there happen to be any errors, it will not come from missing references. You're welcome to add it, see if it propagates and does what it needs to. HTML is a very forgiving language, or forgiving markdown language. So if there are things that are missing, it won't really freak out. Which is nice, but problematic when you're trying to figure out why your paragraphs are rendering like headers and you can't find the closing bracket that isn't available, and therefore you have a header instead of a paragraph style text. So let me go ahead and hit cancel changes. I already have this file in there. And then the last thing, adding a CNAME. So I am not the most versed in DNS, domain name, etc. I had to ask my partner for help, who has had to do this a couple times. But he had the secret, and I guess I was already on the right path. I just didn't know the exact URLs I needed. Google tutorials were not super helpful. But when you create a CNAME, it must only be 1 line, and it must refer to the website that you are creating. So in my case, I'm creating a subdomain. My portfolio is already hosted on halcyon.dev. So that is already a live website, working, functional, incomplete because I didn't finish the portfolio. Whoopsie. But I wanted a subdomain that we could use during our workshop. So I called it workshop.halcyon.dev. Subdomain refers to the workshop part of the URL, the front part. Halcyon.dev is the root name or the main website, depending on how you refer to things. Again, that is already set up. So once you have added that, you're going to go to settings. You're going to go to pages. And so as you can see, it says that my site is live. It was last deployed. Anytime I make a commit with the way that GitHub Pages is set up, it will automatically deploy my changes. And the reason for this is because I have it set to deploy from a branch. If you're not familiar with GitHub, branches are like trees. That's why they're named branches. You have the main trunk or the main repository in which you develop in things, but branches are instances where you're doing development outside of main. So main is generally advised to be where your functional product is. Good development will always have a main branch that you only merge your branches into when things are functional, tested, still going to work even after you make those changes. So if anybody were to download your project to work with it, they would therefore have a functional application or project or whatever it is that you've created. So as a result, we're deploying from the main branch. I don't have any folders because this is, again, bare bones HTML, CSS. So we're just using the root folder. There is no docs folder. We really don't need that at this time. The last thing is when you create a CNAME file in GitHub, it will auto-populate the URL, but it will take some time in order to work. I can finally do that now. The reason we're also doing setup today is because I had to wait a day to enforce HTTPS, which I wanted people to be able to access this, but they can't access it if it's not HTTPS. So that's basically, I was waiting for the security, what's it called? Certificate for that subdomain. I was waiting for that to come in. So the reason why we're setting this up today is also so that way, should you decide you wish to deploy this on a personal website or subdomain, you'll be able to have this working for tomorrow. And then also be able to, so it may deliver you to the website, but if you're using Chrome especially, it will prevent you from accessing the website until you have HTTPS. So like I said, it took 24 hours for me to finally be able to click that check box. You might have the same experience where you can keep clicking, but instead this text will tell you that it could not find a certificate and therefore you can't check the box yet. So chances are you'll be using your own custom domain. If you happen to pick one up from domain name, there are instructions on the Global Hack Week channels, or at least through potentially the Discord, either in past hackathons or in frequently asked questions. And that will describe how to set up a brand new domain name with domainname.com. If you already have a domain and you want to use a subdomain like I'm doing, let me log into my domain service and I will show you what it can look like. Depending on your domain name service that you're using, it may be slightly different, but it should relatively be the same. It's the same concepts. It just may be different execution. So let me go ahead and log in. Which I might actually still be logged in, which would be nice. I am not. Unfortunate. One moment. Alrighty. So let me pull this up. All right. So I am in where I bought my websites from. I went to domain management and I want to adjust or add a subdomain. So I want to go and open details. Let me make sure that there's nothing questionable. One moment. So we're going to go to manage DNS records, which when I look at the details and then go to manage DNS records, you'll see a number of IP addresses down here. This is in order to link to GitHub pages. You can absolutely use GitHub pages to host your own website. You do not need a website or a domain name. You just need to say enable pages and it will be available at your GitHub username.github.io. Mine is obviously linked to my custom domain, and so therefore it is not available under that URL. It's under mine, halcyon.dev. So I have all these A-name records, which are linking to the IP addresses for GitHub pages. So if you don't already have that set up, there is a tutorial on GitHub on doing that, or you can go and just Google like GitHub pages IP addresses, and they'll just say create 4 A-name records for all the IP addresses listed. Make sure you get them right. Time to live, you don't have to change that. So in my case, some stuff is already set up. The thing that you need to do is create a CNAME for what you are doing if you're doing a a subdomain. So for me, like I said, I was doing workshop. I had workshop.halcyon.dev. And as for where it will route to, if you already have, I think, even if you don't have, if you are routing to GitHub.io, you should do your GitHub username. So mine is halcyonaura.github.io, which is what I did in the CNAME below. You don't need to do anything else other than that. Should that not work? Probably because you are using a different domain. Sorry. Domain name service. You may have to go Google tutorials to ensure that you set things up. The terms you'll be looking for are setting up a domain name or setting up a subdomain in the case of me, who wanted to have workshop.halcyon.dev. So we'll go ahead and close that. It will take some time for those changes to propagate. And what I mean by that is when you first create things in the World Wide Web, technically the internet, it's actually not the World Wide Web, there's a discrepancy between, anyway, when you do things in the internet, when you create something, that updated information must travel from that node to a server. And it takes some time to get there. It can take 5 minutes, 10 minutes, depending on your distance to a regional or continental server. And there are a number of backup servers, etc. So as it goes along, it's updating information about your site as it goes toward that server. Once it's on that server, can it make it to other servers around the world? And so you're basically waiting for those changes to propagate. It can take between 10 minutes to 24 hours for those changes to propagate, especially when you create a new domain, like brand new, it will take some time. For me, I think it took about 30 to 45 minutes for my subdomain to propagate. However, I had the HTTPS issue where I didn't have a security certificate given to my domain at the time, which took 24 hours for it to work. So with that, we are basically set up. You can also, of course, follow along. Should you manage to find my project when I've made it public, you can fork it, but you will need to change the CNAME because it will not work otherwise. There will be issues. So don't use my CNAME when you fork it if you decide that you want to do that, but otherwise you can set everything up yourself. And then since we have probably about 5-10 minutes left before I'm going to log off, any questions, comments, concerns, ideas for tomorrow for our development work? Or feedback for today's stream? I also take feedback. Radio silence is good. No feedback is no bad feedback. Cool. So given that there isn't too much coming in, fun is good. I love that it is fun. I'm hoping that my streams will be fun, entertaining, and a learning process for all of that are involved. My hope is that you will walk away with at least one new thing to learn, and I will also walk away with one new thing that I've learned, which I've learned plenty today. What I'll probably do in the downtime between the next stream, for me, because I think tomorrow I'm at the same time as I was today, question mark? Let me go check. Day 4. No, I'm an hour later. So tomorrow at 1 p.m. So basically 24 hours, less than 24, 23 hours from now will be the final part. And that's where we'll actually put this website together. So for today / tonight, I'll be updating that design, making it a lot better than what it currently is, but for an hour and a half, I think I did pretty good. And it'll basically be the full reference page that we'll be following along to do tomorrow as we do the HTML, a little bit of CSS, potentially some JavaScript for the registration form. And then hopefully we will have our successful event ready to go. And then you still have time to become an honorary organizer if you fill out the stock photo form I sent out earlier. I'm looking forward to writing the alt text for those images. So please be creative. That's how we're going to handle our accessibility of images. Oh, and before I forget, let me make sure, if you all have not checked in, now is the time. Let me go pull up the schedule again, because I just closed it. Day 3. Make sure you check in, get those hack week points, get that swag. I don't know what they give you anymore. Hopefully tomorrow I have a voice. It's really dry here today, so my throat is unhappy. It is unfortunate, but I have lots of tea, so. Unfortunately, this was not as chaotic as yesterday where we were all struggle bus. Today, I was struggle bus. So it was different chaos, but still chaos. I think that'll probably end up being most of my streams. I'm very much a throw myself into the fire to learn things because that's how I learn the best, under pressure. Alrighty, well, I'm going to end the broadcast here. It doesn't seem like there's any new... Okay. Ice cream flavors are cool. Have you ever had Smarties? Smarties are those little like hard pill-like candies, and they're just like pure sugar condensed into a little tablet form. It looks like Smarties, and that's my childhood. Don't judge me. Don't at me. I'm gonna make the design prettier. I'm gonna figure it out. I've got 23 hours to figure out a better design with those colors. I'm gonna prove you wrong. Yay, thank you. Positive feedback. Not that the last one wasn't positive. I do agree. The colors are a bit garish, but I also find those a challenge to figure out how to work with difficult colors like that. So I will figure something out, or it might still be the same because there was nothing better. We'll see. Cool. Well, enjoy the rest of y'all's day, evening, morning, wherever time zone you are at, and I will see you all tomorrow where we do HTML, CSS, JS stuff. And while we are working that, we will be using the evaluation tools we talked about yesterday, so there will be plenty of opportunity to start figuring out how to use that on your own websites. I do see that feedback. Cool. So have a good one.